The rain had stopped only an hour earlier, leaving the training field soaked and smelling of earth, sweat, and burned fuel. Boots had torn the grass into scars during the day's drills, forced marches, live fire exercises, and obstacle courses that broke the weak and hardened the rest. As the sun dipped low behind a line of distant trees, 5 women dropped their gear in near perfect unison and sat down heavily on the ground. They didn't look heroic in that moment. They looked exhausted. Captain Elena Ward rolled her shoulders, wincing as sore muscles protested. Her camouflage uniform was stained with dirt and sweat, sleeves rolled up, hands trembling slightly from fatigue. Around her, Sergeant Maya Collins, Corporal Reyes, Specialist Novik, and Private First Class Amina Rahman leaned back, breathing hard, eyes half closed. For 14 hours, they had been pushed harder than any mixed gender unit on base. And that was no accident. Somewhere in the chain of command, someone had decided this all-female platoon needed to be tested. Not officially, of course. On paper, it was just another training cycle. In reality, it was a silent challenge. Let's see how long they last. They lasted every drill, every march, every round fired on target. When the final whistle blew, no one congratulated them, no applause. No acknowledgement, just a nod from the range officer and a curt dismissal. That was when the truck arrived. A dented supply vehicle rolled onto the field and stopped nearby. 2 cooks jumped down and hauled out a massive metal tray, placing it on a low stand. The smell hit instantly. Slow, cooked meat, spices, smoke, and fat. Maya's eyes widened. You've got to be kidding me. The tray was piled high with roasted meat, thick bones jutting out, dark and glistening. It wasn't elegant, it wasn't pretty, it was perfect. Elena laughed, a deep, genuine laugh that surprised even her. Well, she said, pushing herself up, I guess we survived long enough to earn dinner. They gathered around the tray, sitting cross-legged on the damp grass. No plates, no cutlery, just hands, gloves pulled off, fingers already sticky with grease. Amina grabbed the first piece and took a savage bite, tearing meat from bone. This, she said through a grin, is better than any medal. The others followed, laughter breaking through the exhaustion. For a moment the base disappeared. There were no ranks, no evaluations, no whispered doubts. Just soldiers eating after a hard day. Yet from a distance eyes were watching. A group of male soldiers stood near the barracks, pretending not to stare. Some smirked, some frowned, one shook his head. Looks like a photo op. Someone muttered, they won't last. Another replied, this is just for show. Elena noticed them but said nothing. She had learned long ago that silence could be sharper than any response. As the women ate, grease smeared their hands and laughter echoed across the field. Novik told a ridiculous story about slipping into a mud pit during morning drills. Reyes mocked her own reaction during a surprise inspection. Even Maya, usually stone-faced, laughed so hard she nearly dropped her food. They didn't eat delicately. They ate like warriors, and that mattered. Earlier that morning, during marksmanship training, an instructor had leaned too close to Elena and whispered, don't push them too hard. We don't want injuries. Elena had met his eyes and replied calmly, push us exactly as hard as everyone else. The results were undeniable. Every target had been hit, every time standard met, some exceeded. Still, doubt clung to them like dust. As the sun slid lower, casting orange light across the field, a senior officer approached. Colonel Harris stopped a few steps away, hands behind his back, watching silently. The women noticed him almost at once. Conversation slowed. Maya wiped her hands on her trousers. Amina straightened her posture instinctively. Elena stood. Captain, Harris said, his gaze flicked briefly to the tray, then back to her face. Productive day. Yes, sir. He nodded once. Your unit completed the course 15 minutes faster than projected. No praise, no smile, but then he added, and with fewer errors. That was new. After a pause, Harris turned and walked away. The women stared after him, stunned. Well, Ray said slowly, I think that's the closest thing to a compliment we're getting. Laughter returned, softer now but warmer. As dusk settled, the field grew quiet. The meat pile shrank, bones stacked up like trophies. The women leaned back, full and satisfied, gazing at the sky. Amina broke the silence. You know, she said, back home, people still ask why I joined. They think strength looks only one way. Elena nodded. They all do, until they see otherwise. That night, someone posted a photo. 5 women in uniform, sitting on the grass, eating like they had earned every bite. No filters, no captions explaining context. Just raw reality. By morning, the image had spread. Comments flooded in, some mocking, some praising, many shocked. They don't look like soldiers. That's not professional. Those women are tougher than half the men I know. Debate exploded, but inside the base, something shifted. Training schedules changed. Evaluations became quieter. The unspoken tests faded. Not because the women demanded it, but because they had proven, again and again, that they belonged. Weeks later, during a joint exercise, a male sergeant approached Maya and said, Your unit held the line better than ours. Maya smiled slightly. We know. On the same field where they had eaten that meal, the women stood in formation, gear ready, eyes forward. They were no longer a curiosity. They were no longer an experiment. They were soldiers. Strength, they had learned, wasn't about how you looked while eating, or how politely you held a bone. It was about endurance. Unity, refusing to break, and sometimes it was about sitting in the mud after the hardest day of your life, sharing a meal with the people who fought beside you, and knowing you had already won.